Well, good morning and welcome to today's video from Yoker Evangelical Church. Today it's Wednesday, the 23rd of September, and as we were reading our Bibles this morning, we read 2 Samuel chapter 19 and 2 Corinthians chapter 12. In this video this morning, I want to take a look at 2 Samuel chapter 19 and particularly one character in it. One character who shows us so much about who Christians are today. But first, I want you to imagine that your family had repeatedly tried to kill somebody. For some of us, that will be a real stretch. For some of us, maybe not. That our families had an ongoing feud with one man, had repeatedly tried to kill him. But now we find ourselves in a position where that man is the king. This man who we repeatedly tried to hurt has now become the highest person in the whole country. How would you expect to be treated if that had happened to you? What kind of way do you think the king would respond to you who had so often tried to hurt him? We see this story play out exactly in the life of this guy called Mephibosheth. You'll read a wee bit of his story earlier on in 2 Samuel chapter 9, but he comes up here again in verses 24 to verse 30. Now Mephibosheth, we read, is Saul's grandson, and if you had to sum up Saul's relationship with David in one word, there are a few options you could go for. You might say that Saul was a murderer who repeatedly tried to kill David. You might say that Saul was a promise breaker who said he was going to be good to David, but then was terrible to him. And yet, as the story of the books of Samuel unfolds, Saul dies, he is no longer king, and David becomes the new king. And so how would Saul's family expect to be treated by this man who their granddad and their father had so often been so cruel to? As we read the story, we read about Saul's lame grandson Mephibosheth. We're told again and again that he is disabled, he has a disease that means that he is infirm. He needs protection. And as he comes to David, everyone expects David to take revenge. Everybody expects David to just let his wrath go on this man whose family had tried so often to kill him. But that's not what David does at all. Instead, David shows kindness to this man. He doesn't kill him, and he doesn't just not kill him. He also takes him in to be part of his household. David's kindness and grace towards Mephibosheth is not just that he withholds his judgment, but that he extends his kindness. And in that kindness, we see a foreshadowing of the kindness that is shown to Christians by Jesus. It looks forward to that grace that we receive, because we were all people who deserved death. We all belonged to the wrong kingdom. We had all chosen to be sinners who belonged to the kingdom of this world. And when the true king came along, Jesus, the righteous one, just like Mephibosheth, we could have rightly deserved death. We could have expected Jesus to have his wrath upon us. And yet that's not what happened. He showed his kindness. And he didn't just not kill us. He took the punishment we deserve on ourselves, on himself. And we were taken into his household, his family. Just like Mephibosheth, we who deserve death were made a part of the family. We see this beautifully put by Mephibosheth in verse 28. All my grandfather's descendants deserve nothing but death from my lord the king. But you gave your servant a place among those who eat at your table. David's grace towards Mephibosheth points forwards to Jesus, who, though we deserve death from him, offers us a place at his table. This morning, I want us to simply feel challenged to receive grace like Mephibosheth, to admit that because of who we are, because of what we have done, we rightly deserve death from God. And yet, in his kindness, he extends to us an offer of the place at the table. We need simply to grasp hold of that grace and say, yes, please, like Mephibosheth, be taken into the family. But also to pass on this grace like David. David is only able to show this grace because he has received grace from God. A lowly shepherd who became the king of the land, who was undefeated in battle. David had received God's grace so much that he was able to pass it on to others, like Mephibosheth. As we receive grace like Mephibosheth, we can pass it on like David, as we show kindness to those who don't deserve. I hope you have a great day today, and God bless.